Thomas Fontenberry is, or was, a former youth minister in Pasadena, Texas, and in 2007 he secretly videotaped 4 teenagers taking a shower at the church. Now, the reason why this case is coming up now is because since the charges weren't filed against him within the statute of limitations, he might not face any charges at all.
Look, that sucks.
This happened 3 years ago, though. I get it. I understand the reasoning and the logic behind the statute of limitation, right? But in this case, he videotaped 4 teenagers just 3 years ago, okay? The statute of limitations actually expired in November, so he might not face any charges at all. However, if they find a way to make him face charges regardless of the statute of limitations, he's only going to face a maximum of 2 years in prison. He secretly videotaped minors as they were showering in church.
I'm surprised by that because, you know, usually they come down like a ton of bricks because they'll call it child porn, because it is.
Right.
He taped 15-year-olds. It's child porn, right? So only 2 years maximum possible. That's surprising. Statute of limitations exists, right? And it should exist, you know, as you said, Anna. The question is, how long should it be? And I think you could make a case that it should be a little longer here. But, you know, at the same time, if it has gone past the statute of limitations, as terrible as what he did is...
So you just let him go?
Yeah.
Wow, no, I don't agree with that.
But what are you going to do, break the law?
There's nothing you can do. No, you change the law.
No, no, I know you can change the law, but you can't retroactively apply it to him. That's what sucks.
He's a child predator. Okay, so he's out on the streets and he's doing whatever he wants. By the way, what he did was so disgusting. These 4 teenagers, he like lured them into the church, right, and told them, hey, let's play this game. And he made the game, he modeled the game after Fear Factor, right? So I don't know exactly what they did, but they ended up dousing themselves in honey. And then in the end, they had to take a shower. So it was all like planned out in his head. Like, okay, they're going to be covered in honey. They're going to want to take a shower. As they're showering, I'll videotape them. 2 of the girls were 15. 2 of them were 17.
Right. For some reason, he admitted to them later that he did that, which I'm amazed by, right? But there's also something wrong with the statute of limitations starting to run at the time that he did the crime if he admits it later. So like, you know, and this happens all the time, and every time it feels like it's a horrible miscarriage of justice, and in some ways it is, obviously. In a lot of ways it is. But, you know, what if your statute of limitations is over? Let's say it's for rape, and let's say the statute of limitations was 10 years, right? The only thing that does not have a statute of limitations is murder, okay? You can always be tried for murder. But everything else has statute of limitations. So 10 years later, what if you come out and you're like, yeah, oh, by the way, 11 years earlier, I raped that girl, so what?
But why is it that our priorities in this country are so screwed up, okay, especially when it comes to the justice system? Like, for instance, you know, you have stories about high school seniors facing 8 years in prison for a practical joke that they played on campus, right? But then you have this person who's obviously a child predator, you know, videotaping people without their knowledge. And who knows what he does with those videos? Like, well, we know what he does with them, right? But who knows if he goes even further and, like, leaks them online or shows them to other people that are sexual predators? I mean, how come this guy, even if he does get convicted, only faces 2 years in prison, a maximum of 2 years in prison?
Yeah, one last thing I'll say about it is that if I was a prosecutor, I'd look real hard at any act associated with that crime that would get me to extend the statute of limitations. So, for example, if I can show that he watched that video a year after he taped it, I might be able to make a case to the judge, hey, you know what, the statute of limitations runs based on the last act of that crime, and viewing the video is part of the crime. For example, you know, it's imaginative, it's a little creative, right? I don't know if it'll work, but I'd go for it, you know? I'd try to find some way to get this guy off the street.